you will just wait. We have this is again our repetition. Oh, you got one?
Hello, namaskar. Those of you who are here, yeah, please remember the first thing. All my events are start sharing. So please call. There is something so important that you must call all your friends and say, come, come. The next 1 hour, you can put everything aside and come and join us and listen to a topic that so many people have so many ideas, their own theory, their own way of looking at things. And today, I want you to challenge this man.
It is Saturday night.
Whatever he's saying, I want you to challenge and go out of this 1 hour with a clear thought. So, please go out, like I said, share it, call a friend to watch, put it on your personal wall, WhatsApp them, do all those things, and let's do something incredible today, yeah? So we are waiting for all of you to start before we go live. I mean, we are already live. The interview will start in about 3 minutes time. So we are waiting. We are waiting for more of you, many of you, as many as possible, to please share, keep sharing. Somebody was sharing.
Actually, this is the Saturday happening night. You know,
Yeah,
YouTube.
yes.
Saturday, every Saturday it's happening night. Yeah?
Agree. We are waiting. Copy this link and I will post on my personal wall. We are about 2 minutes away before we start. So anything you like to say from last week? My co-host, dear co-host, would you like to share something? We are 1 minute away.
It was an excellent event for one big reason, because there was a Shakti on the other side.
Yeah, always not fair. You're always talking about your Shakti. Today
it has to be.
Okay. Today you must remember you're the only Shakti today. Last week we had 2, so you can bully me. So today you have only 1. So yeah.
Okay. So you will be asking all the questions.
No, you will be asking all the questions.
Okay. You'll do the rebuttal.
Yeah.
All
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay, that would be interesting. How much more time are we set?
We are still about a minute away before we start. Yeah, it's Malaysian 8:59, 1 minute away. So friends, please share. Most important, also comment. At least we know who you are, so that we know you are supporting us. So we need all the support that we can to make this event very successful and to continue doing this week in, week out. All right, we are at 9 sharp Malaysian time, 1 in London. நமச்சிவாய வாழ்க நாதன் தான் வாழ்க இமைப்பொழுதும் என் நெஞ்சில் நீங்காதான் தாழ்வாழ்க. ஹரிஓம். ஜெய் ஸ்ரீ கிருஷ்ணா, ஜெய் ஸ்ரீ ராம், ஜெய் சக்தி. நமஸ்கார், நமஸ்தே, நமஸ்காரம், வணக்கம், and welcome to the why of Hinduism. And today, this is an interesting topic. Many of us have, like I said in the beginning, many of us have many ways of looking at it. We have many people with many different ideas and thought process of this topic is what? Is caste Hindu? So my co-host, would you want to say something? Yeah.
Yes.
Especially what you always talk about Shakti.
Okay,
So what
yes,
about
so
last week
right.
as well before we
Oh,
start?
last week, yes, we had an excellent program and we had Shakti on board and she had so much of things, so much of insight. She was sharing her experience and it was amazing. And we have another personality actually.
Yeah.
I will give you the pleasure of introducing him,
Yeah.
but I will talk about the topic.
Okay.
Right. It is his caste system in Hindu religion. Or did it really exist or fabricated by the invaders? Or what else can we say? Or is it a virus injected into the Hindu religion? Let's hear it from who?
Pandit Satish Sharma, the director of Global Hindu Federation, the chair of British Board of Dharmic Scholars, a Dharmic theologian, yoga acharya at the British Hindu.
Wow.
Namaskar. Thank you for
Pranam
coming
ji.
and joining us.
Namaskar, Satish ji.
Yeah, Satish ji, namaskar. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pranam Namaskar ji. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you.
Thank you.
We are
Thank
happy
you.
to be with you too.
Yeah. Today we have this, many of us have this question unanswered. Many people saying many things about this. So just a little introduction. Anything else you want to say? The topic I said today is caste Hindu.
It's an excellent subject, and there is a special reason why we should be talking about this. For most people, they think caste is something that happened a long time ago. And it was a bad thing, and it was something in our community, and we're all ashamed of it, and we shouldn't talk about it. Let's pretend it never happened. Let's just carry on as though we can do without it now. It's history. If that was the case, that would probably be okay. But what happens is that if you're a Hindu, no matter where you go, no matter which corner of the world you go to, the big surprise is that non-Hindus talk about caste. You can go to Alaska and you say, I'm a Hindu, and they will say, oh yes, you worship cows and you have caste. They won't talk about Vedas, they won't talk about Ayurveda and yoga and everything else, but they will have heard about caste. So even though it's not a part of our life in this day and age, it may be completely absent and our children don't even know about it, it's still something that we meet again and again and again. And usually when we meet it, the immediate reaction is, oh yes, it's a terrible thing, and can we change the subject? What were you doing yesterday?
So it's a taboo.
It's a taboo subject. And that's not by accident. So what I want to talk about today, as well as caste, is the reasons why we feel it's a taboo subject, the reasons why wherever we go in the world as a Hindu, somebody will say, oh yes, you're famous because of your caste system. These are not accidental. When you think about it, our Ramayana, the battle between Ramchandraji and Ravan took place in 12,209 BC. Right? That's almost 15,000 years ago. Such a huge event, but most people don't know about the Ramayana outside of our Sanatana Dharma tradition. The Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, slowly people are beginning to know about the Gita. But even all of those wonderful works that our ancients did, they haven't permeated and transferred across the globe. But mysteriously, everybody knows about caste. Now, in my own journey, I had never thought about caste. I had thought, yep, we're in the United Kingdom, we're third generation, our children, they get on with everybody else, they're friends with everybody else, and they have friendships and relationships and everything else. So we never thought about it, except it was something in the past. The first time I came across it was when I was invited onto the BBC, and the conversation, we were having an interview and it was a panel discussion, a debate, and the conversation was, did man create God or did God create man? Okay.
That's interesting.
Interesting. That's our next
interesting.
topic.
Wonderful
Okay.
subject. And if you want to, if you go on YouTube and just do a search on my name and that title, it'll come up on YouTube. But it was very interesting because halfway through, when I was talking about the Hindu perspective on this subject, the interviewer looked at me he saw that the audience was actually appreciating what I was saying, and they were becoming impressed with what the Hindu perspective was. And he said, "Oh, but you Hindus have the caste system." Now, I had in my pocket a piece of paper, and on it I had printed 5 minutes to caste. Right? Because you can guarantee in any conversation, within 5 minutes, somebody will say, "Oh, but you Hindus have the caste system." And I was going to pull it out and show it to him that I was ready for it. But then I thought, no, he's a nice guy and this is a live transmission. I don't want to disrupt him. But that's what I've now begun to call the caste bomb. Okay? Because in the middle of a conversation, suddenly a non-Hindu will throw in the caste bomb, and the Hindu's argument and the Hindu's respect will be defeated. Now, this just doesn't happen with us grown-ups. When our children go to schools, the teacher will throw in the caste bomb, and our children will feel, "Oh my God, no," and they want to hide. The students will say, "Oh, what caste are you? You guys have got the caste bomb. It's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible." So I came across this thing called the caste bomb, as I call it now. And I thought, this is not a good thing. Now, I know about our scriptures and our Shastra and our Itihas, and we have such a wonderful way of looking at life. You know, we look at everyone as being Jeev Atma, an Atma which has taken a body. And the Atma is the same for everyone. And so if that's the same, how is it possible that our philosophy could suddenly create a society where some people are higher and other people are lower? Some are better and some are worse. And I thought that doesn't work. And the history is that it doesn't apply either. So when did it happen? And I knew also that this was going to be a problem for our children and their children's children, because whenever in the future somebody wanted to diminish a Hindu, all they had to do was say the word caste. And so nobody would be safe from this. Soon after that, in the British Parliament, they decided that in the United Kingdom, caste was such a terrible problem, they wanted to put it into law, to make it illegal for a person to discriminate against another person on the basis of caste. And I thought, I've been in this country 50 years, and I have never come across a situation in any of the mandirs or anywhere else where they say, "Oh, low caste are over there, high caste are over here," and all of that nonsense. It wasn't present. But this legislation was introduced by a missionary Christian bishop. And so I thought, why have they done this? So I started to go into my books then, and I've got lots of very old books from all over India and Bharat and so on. And I started to do research and going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the things I found were just shocking and amazing. Now, I think before I start to talk about caste, I'd like everyone to have an idea in their minds about how divide and rule works. Because if you want to understand caste, you have to first know how divide and rule works. This is a strategy that emperors have used to conquer whole countries by getting countries to fight amongst themselves.
Can I ask you this? Where this first
Yes.
divide and rule ideology started? Do you know which country? Any idea? Just wanted to curious.
So the word casta is Portuguese, and in Europe they had a caste system. Okay, and they still have a caste system, because what caste means is that it's hereditary. So you are born into your social class. It's hierarchical, which means one class is better than another class. And third, it's endogamous, that people in one class only marry people in the same class. These three things are what caste means, and this is how Europe was run. And if you think about it today, no matter how beautiful I look, and no matter how wonderfully I speak, why are you laughing, Yutuji?
I always like the way you do that.
No matter how fantastic I can become, I can never become the King of England, because you have to be born into a royal family to become the king. And that means that this is a caste system. Okay?
The caste system is, from what you are just telling us, it's a Portuguese word. So it has come from there, not from
the
here.
word means class. The Portuguese word for a class system, a class-based society, is casta.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
and when they
okay.
came to India, they looked at it and they thought, oh, hang on, there are some priests over there, there are some traders over there, and the same mirror that they had in the UK, in Europe and England, i.e., you had people at the top who were the Pope and the bishops. Remember, they were higher than the kings. And then you had underneath the kings, you had the businessmen, the merchants, and then you had the serfs, the unwashed laborers and the low class. So they came to India with those lenses, and that's what they saw in India. Okay, so it came from there. Now, when it became a problem for the Indians was actually much later than when they first came. In fact, the date that I've put forward is the 4th of January, 1844, is the date upon which the caste system was conceived and deployed in Bharat,
In Bharat,
in India.
1884.
1840.
The 4th of January, 1844. Okay,
Okay.
because something happened, something very special happened on that day, and that was 33 missionary organizations all got together to compare notes and have a conference on how to convert Hindus into Christians. And the notes of that conference I got hold of in my rummaging around in the dusty bookshelves of Kolkata. I've got the details of that conference. And in that conference, there are 2 or 3 things that are really important. One is they talk about the caste system. And when they talk about caste, they're talking about what we call jatis. So a
Mm.
jati is a group of people grouped according to occupational skill.
Okay.
Okay,
So the jati is according to an occupational skill.
correct. So if you think of the carpenters, okay? Now, in the olden days, everywhere, a son would follow in his father's footsteps, and it was a good thing. And the father would train the son from a very young age. The daughter would follow in the family footsteps. They would receive all of the knowledge that that family had gathered generation after generation. Now, in this, that's what we call a jati. And the other beautiful thing about a jati, by the way, in India, is that every jati has its own vision of Paramatma. So the
Own what?
carpenters
We
of
didn't hear you.
Within your own what? Satyaji own?
within
Your own?
every jati,
Yeah.
they had their own way of worshipping Paramatma.
Okay.
yes,
okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So you may have had the carpenters and the builders, and they would worship Paramatma in the form of Vishwakarma, who was the architect of the heavens, of the gods. So every jati worshipped according to its own rules, its own traditions. Now, in this meeting, when all these missionaries got together, they decided that these jatis were a wonderful institution of India. They actually wrote that these jatis are a wonderful institution of India. And they also said that the only thing betwixt Christ and these pagans is the jati system.
Mm.
So if we are going to convert these Hindus into Christians, we have to break their jati system, because every jati has a nice integrated identity. We have to break how they worship. And so what they did is they decided we have to cause divide and rule based conflict. Okay, and this too is written down. They were very open about it in the British Parliament, and they made statements that if we are going to rule India, then we must do so by divide and rule.
So
That the people
ultimate
in India,
reason was to divide and rule. So that is
correct,
when they injected the caste into the minds of people.
they started the scheme at that conference. That was when they said, we have to do this. The only thing between these pagans and Christ is caste, i.e. the jati system.
So do other religions have caste?
So I'm one of these scholarly people, right? And so every word that I hear and every word that I say, I look for a really precise meaning. Now, your question was, if I can just pick you up on that, your question was, do other religions have caste? Okay. Firstly, Sanatan Dharma does not have caste anywhere in it.
Clear?
No.
Not written any of scriptures.
No, we don't.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Those who are listening, who will listen later, yeah, please take note.
Remember.
In the Hindu scriptures, nowhere.
Yes.
One more time.
Nowhere.
Dig your ears. And your nose if possible. Hey, that is not written in any of scriptures of this thing called.
Perfect. And not only that, there are many accounts of people who came to Bharat from other countries before the British invaded. If you read the accounts of Chinese travelers and Persian travelers, in those accounts, they mention what an incredible society it is, that they have never seen such harmony within society, how the Hindus are so contented people. No matter what they do it with an incredible sense of tranquility and contentment. Nowhere is there any record of a hierarchical, hereditary, endogamous system whereby one group is higher than the other. Okay, never. It came in during the first roots of it came in during the Mughal invasions, but then when the British came in, they decided to use our Jati system and convert it into a caste system. And they did this deliberately. In Punjab, the Jats were allowed to own land. Hindus were not allowed to own weapons. The Sikhs were allowed to own weapons. So they started to interfere in what every group could or couldn't do to make this a rigid system. Okay. And so as I said, the date is the 4th of January, 1844, when this conference decided we need to create this caste system. Okay. We need a strategy. It was clear. It was very open. And so now I'm just going to touch on divide and rule, because I think everybody needs to understand how divide and rule works. And so just to share with you a little slide I had prepared earlier. Here we go. So to divide and rule, you can do this in a family, okay? You can do this in a community. You can do this in a nation. It's the same principle. First, you pick one area of human activity. And then you look for some people who are successful in that activity and others who are not successful. You identify who's winning and who's losing, and then you tell the losers that they're losing because of the winners. At its heart, that's how it works. And then what you do is you become the friend of the losers.
Satiji, can I stop you there for a while?
You
This
can.
sounds very familiar. You are losing because of these people are winning. It sounds very, 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 very familiar. It sounds that I have been hearing almost every day. So,
it's exactly the same.
Yes. So, okay. So there is also a caste system somewhere around me happening. Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same politics. You find You find
so
any
that
activity.
Has not stopped yet.
Not
that
stopped
has not
yet.
Stopped yet.
Not
maybe
at all.
It is named. Sitaji, can I say it is maybe named differently, but it is politics.
So look at you're 1,000% right. If you look at what happened in Bharat, the British, when they were leaving Bharat, they wanted to keep a little piece of it, right? And this is in the records of the British Parliament, and they wanted to keep a small slice as a garrison, as a British outpost. Okay. In fact, in the records, it's called a garrison state. So they created Pakistan on the principles of divide and rule. They were telling the Muslims that you are going to be attacked by Hindus because the Hindus are doing really well, even though they've been on this land here for the best part of 40, 50,000 years, but they're doing well and you are losing because of them. They identified winners and losers. They then supported the Muslim League and said, yes, we will help to give you a new nation which will be safe for you. Divide and rule. Okay? So this is how it works. You claim allegiance with the losers. All right? That's most important. And then you can revel in your moral superiority. Okay? Target your resentment toward the new enemies and then repeat it forever, everywhere. All right? This is why the British are famous for divide and rule in the whole of the world.
So can I say this divide and rule ideology or political thought process was
Correct.
first started by the British?
It was
Invaders.
first, shall we say, formalized by the
Okay.
Romans.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It was the Romans who said divide and rule, and then the British took the Latin phrase divide et impere and said it worked for the Romans, it will work for us. And the key to it is that they must never suspect our motives, and they must remain in awe of how wonderful we are. Okay. So it was deliberate, it was targeted, and it was malicious. Okay. This was not an accident. Now, have a look at the situation. You have all these people who've come over to Bharat, and they see this Hindu community, and they think we have to break down this whole country so we can steal everything away. You've heard of scrap merchants and asset strippers. There are people who will buy a company just to break it up and sell its assets. And it's a nasty thing to do. Yeah. Very famous. That's what they were. They were civilizational asset strippers. But when they went back home, they were telling everybody in England, in Britain, oh, the people in the colonies, they don't know anything. They're only animals. They're subhumans, right? And so we have to save their souls. And by the way, we're doing such good work out there. We're making lots of money. Would you also like to invest? Right? And so the first multinational corporation was created, and that was the East India Company. And it was built on dividing and ruling and then acquiring the assets and shipping them back to England. And there was so much that they couldn't hide it. And that's why they created tax havens to hide all the money that was coming back in places that the British people themselves wouldn't know. The British created the first tax havens. Yeah. So this caste philosophy is exactly an application of this policy, this philosophy. You create groups, you tell one group they're better than the other, that the others think of themselves as being higher and lower. You know, I've said this to many people who talk to me about caste. I say, okay, if you say the Brahmins are high caste, if you measure anything, you measure a mountain and say this mountain is higher than the other mountain, you're using meters to measure the height. So I said, so what do you use to measure the height that says a Brahmin is higher? Is it money? Is it power? Is it wealth? What is it? Because the Brahmins had no money, they had no power, they had no wealth, they had knowledge. So what's the metric that you use to say that Brahmins are higher than Kshatriyas, who are higher than Vaishyas, who are higher than Shudras? And there is no measurement that is consistent. There is not one metric that you can use to say that one Brahmin is higher than a Shudra. There's no metric at all. And so it's purely and solely a propaganda exercise. This whole thing was created to justify stealing India's wealth, to break the spine and the moral strength, the spiritual strength of one of the world's greatest, most ancient civilizations, and then to tear it to pieces and spread its assets all over the world. And if you think about it, Yutuji, you and dear Krishnaji, we're all assets of this civilization. And look how far we've been thrown. I'm thrown across the other side of the world, over in London, and most of what it, and you guys are over there in Malaysia, and most of it's due to the incredible poverty. It is. But most of it was due because they used our human resource around the world to do even more divide and rule and even more asset extraction from other countries. So I found all of this out and I started to gather it, and I thought this is too important not to share with our community, because we need to know this. It has two impacts. When we know this, one impact is that it gives us it restores our Atma Vishwas, our self-confidence in our ancestors, right? It gives us the capacity to stand up again and hold our head high in the company of non-Hindus, because we know that we were not caste supremacist. That's really important. The second thing is that it protects our next generation. Our future generations need to know that when somebody says, oh, you have that terrible Hindu caste system, our next generation can say, oh, you mean that European caste system that was forced onto our ancestors at the point of a gun and a knife by the British. That's the story and the conversation that we need to get to. And just think, Yutuji, this caste issue has been a millstone around our necks for the last 250 years. Every generation has been undermined by it. If our generation can finish this propaganda exercise off, if we can deconstruct it, what we can then do is turn to our own brothers and sisters. You know, those poor people who call themselves Dalits, they were created by British economic policies. They were driven from their ancestral occupations and rounded up and put into reservations like concentration camps until they became so poor. There are brothers and sisters who were told that we were the cause of their suffering by a very evil third party. So this would be a great thing if we can do this, which is why I've sat down and taken the trouble to write this book, which you can see over on this side over here, and it's on Amazon and everything else. I never wanted to write a book. My philosophy is that there are too many books in the world already. I don't think our mother, Lakshmi Devi, the earth, has been burdened by so much weight of paper as she is now. But this needed to be told. So I thought I'll write the story and I will tell everybody how caste was deliberately created to deconstruct and destroy an ancient civilization.
Satyaji, I want to stop you here now. I want to go into this deconstruct, because the last 30, 60 seconds, I think you used the word deconstruct at least 3 times. So, what can be done? There are a few other things, but I want to go to deconstruct because that thing slips my mind. Yeah, how can we start doing this? What is this? How is there something? Okay, you know, we are in Malaysia. I would sometimes say maybe we are the third world country. Yeah, maybe yes, maybe no, depending who says, how you look at it. Now, England being, and for lack of a better word, first class nation, so to speak. Yeah, maybe it's not.
He's a British Hindu.
Yeah,
It's a British Hindu sitting there.
Yeah. Okay, but he's so far away, he cannot do anything to me right now. Yeah.
You enjoy yourself, Yutuji.
First thing is, how is this caste system? Is this relevant? Is this predominant? Is there any work being done to deconstruct this in
So
England?
it's a great question. It's a great question. Now, we did the work in this country of stopping the missionaries when they wanted to defame and vilify us and paint us as being caste supremacist. And we thought, Tika, we've done it. All right. In this country, they won't accuse us, and this injustice will have been stopped. But then earlier, actually, middle of last year, an African American woman wrote a book, and she called it Caste. And she said that caste is the same issue in America as it was in Bharat, and that the blacks were the low caste and the whites were the high caste. All right, which is an analogy, but she didn't understand the reality that the Hindus had suffered from a European caste system. Her starting point was the caste system was ours, that we created this, and that the high castes were doing this in India, and here the high castes, who are the white guys, they've taken our formula and they've been doing it to the African American community. And so all of a sudden in America in the last 6 months, caste has been on everybody's tongue, everybody's lips, and every time they say caste, we get denigrated because they say the Hindu caste
Yes.
system.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Correct.
So
Yes.
this is not an obscure issue. This is mainstream. You know that African American interviewer Oprah Winfrey. Yeah,
Someone posted.
she took this book and sent a copy of it to 500 CEOs, the CEOs of the top 500 companies in America, saying, you must study this. And we're thinking, this is terrible, because suddenly she is now spreading the lie, the colonial lie, that Hindus had a caste system. And so this has happened because we actually hadn't done our work. And our work is to reverse the lies that were told about us all across the world. And this is only going to happen if we talk about this issue. So I'm hoping to start this conversation, and so that every house, every Hindu parent is talking to every Hindu child to tell them that they are going to encounter the caste bomb. Right? It'll be in school or at university or somewhere. They will encounter the caste bomb. And so they need to know how to defend themselves, because it is an attack and it's meant to undermine them, and it's meant to make them feel ashamed of their Sanatan background.
Inferior, yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, I point blank come to you and say, even in our country, if you do anything nasty, or if they don't like you, they just call you a pariah. They just, you can be a Brahmin, you can be a Shatra, you can whoever you like. They just call you, they just downgrade you I mean, in 2 seconds, you are a pariah. That's the brand. That's how they use this to
Sure.
make us small, make us feel
inferior.
Yeah.
So they're
So
coming back to this.
let's use this to understand and then work out a strategy. Okay, so everybody should talk about this. We have nothing to be ashamed
No
about.
more taboo, nothing. Yes.
We should be holding caste conferences. We should be inviting Christians in and telling them this is what was done to us. Right? We should be inviting.
Hold on for 1 second. Those of you who are watching, who are in a live, please call your friend. Send this link to a Christian friend, whoever who's watching. Please send it to them to make them understand where, because some of them, to be fair, not everybody. Some of them need to understand where we are coming from.
Correct.
We are not here to, bombard you or say nasty
You
things.
see, we are just changing the narrative here. We are trying to make a better future for the next generation to come. They should be living, they should be living in where? The social construct should be what our Vedic scholars, it's my view. Well, I'm the host, but just sharing.
Correct.
So that I'm sure you've got in-depth knowledge here, so you will be able to tell us. Now, for the caste system to come and build up on something, we had the Varna system then. The Vedic scholars had the Varna system.
Correct.
So, which was, of course, like Manusmriti, which was actually a guidebook for all humans to work. And later along the way, from my little knowledge, the Manu and all other Vedic scriptures were adulterated, they were translated according to their
Correct.
level of understanding, and they had brought us to this level. So, can you please explain to all those people who are watching the Varna system, and why was it brought in for the entire universe?
Wonderful.
No matter where you live. Yeah.
That is a lovely direction to take our conversation. There was something that Yutuji just said to wrap up with, and that was this notion of being defeated and demeaned and vilified and made low by somebody who just calls you with some sort of a hate speech name. Okay.
Yes.
Now remember,
I point blank, I use the word. Okay.
You did. When you want to look for a caste system, look for a mechanism whereby one person is made inferior so the other person can feel superior. So the guy who is coming to you and saying you're a pariah or you're a periyar or whatever, what he's doing is he's raising himself and lowering you. He is creating a caste hierarchy. Samajh gaye na? Good.
Someday.
So anybody.
Exactly this is what they wanted. This is what they wanted to do. And
this is correct.
Yeah, this
This
one
is correct.
Tell us what the Varna system was
So,
telling us.
let's turn to the Vadna system. What the Vadna system is, it's an understanding. What Krishnji says in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's in the Vedas and other places, is that there are 4 prototypes of a human being. Okay, I have created 4 models. Some of them love books and they're quiet and they're introverted and they read something knowledge-wise and it makes them excited and they laugh and think, oh my God, I never realized that was so wonderful. Okay, those people are great to be scholars. Look for them wherever you can find them. Okay, but there are others who are also very knowledgeable and very intellectual, but they are courageous people. Okay, they want to give sacrifice in order to protect everybody else, right? The Bhagat Singh archetype. Okay, so these people are courageous. Then the third people, they actually want to make assets. They want the society to become wealthy and rich. They want to do business so that they can create a healthy, wealthy, prosperous society. And that's their seva. And then the fourth people are Shudras. The word Shudra comes from Shuddh in Sanskrit, which means pure, right?
Yeah.
Shuddhi is to purify. And a Shudra is a person who is pure of ambition. They have no ambitions, right? The first 3 have ambitions, okay? The Brahmin wants to be knowledgeable. The Kshatriya wants to be a ruler and a conqueror defending his country and his people. The Vaishya has an ambition to be wealthy and to create wealth. The Shudras are pure of ambition. They just want to do Samaj Seva, simple people, contented minds, tranquil minds, have families, do the normal things, and then be ready to say, I'm gone. And these are 4 aptitudes. Now, the Varnas, if you have a look at an ancient traditional Janam Patrika, the horoscope that a Pandit will create at the birth of a child, it says Varna. So in one family, you can have 3 children who are all different Varnas.
Yes.
You can have
Yes.
one child who's intellectual, one child who is a real aggressive guy.
Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes. We were trying to
So
get there, but you got it.
that's what a
Thank you.
Varna
Thank you
is.
for getting there. One household, many Varnas.
Many Varnas.
One household, many Varnas.
Correct.
And
Now, in
Hitler
our
and
system,
Mussolini were Kshatriyas. Hitler and
Yeah.
Mussolini were Kshatriyas. Ford
Oh.
and Steve Jobs were Vaishyas. How do we put it?
well,
So it's a universal law.
you can tell, you can spot them. Anybody in any family will be able to look at their children, will be look at their brothers and sisters and say, he's a courageous guy, he's a sportsman, he likes to win, he's a Kshatriya archetype. Yeah.
You know,
And the
usually
others,
when we met our
yeah.
I'm sure you
And
met
so,
our Rishi.
yes, yes.
He used to talk about the way you are talking to me now. I'm just recalling what he was saying.
Perfect. And this is written again and again and again. Now, the important thing about Varnas is there's no hierarchy.
No hierarchy.
Because an intellectual person, right, who spends all of his life learning books and knowledge, he can't protect himself. So he needs a Kshatriya. And a Kshatriya needs a Brahmin so that he doesn't go out and become a Rakshas king. A Kshatriya needs Vaishyas so that they can make profit out of the harvest and then reinvest it into schools. So all of these are critical parts of a society. Not one of them is better than any other, but if you have a society where there is a deficiency in one and too much of another, that society will destroy itself. So if you look at Western societies, many of them have Vaish Parampara, right? And everybody is Vaish Parampara in America. The dollar is king, right? This is Vaish Parampara speaking, okay? Profit is the maximum measurement of success.
Oh.
And in that society, there is no moral guidance and there is no protection of the Shudras and the poor people, right? The Vaish Parampara gathers everything.
Knew.
And they knew.
So Vedic scholars knew what was needed then, what is needed for the future.
Correct. And so this is not complicated, but the important thing is one of them is no better than any of the others. And one of them cannot survive without the others. It's a perfect system. And it's the same in any company, right? You have your finance department, you have your sales department, you have your factory workers and everything else. Brahmins,
How our Jeffrey
Kshatriyas,
Armstrong put it.
Shudras, and Vaishyas.
Yeah.
Okay?
Our Jeffrey Armstrong gave me a very simple term to remember. He gave this in a session. Our Jeffrey G, our Kavindra Rishi, professors, protectors, producers, and providers. That's
Perfect.
Varuna. He put it very easily.
Perfect. Absolutely right. Jeffrey G.
For a good
Jeffrey G.
society.
is a wordsmith. He is a master with words. So the important
Yeah, we
thing
are learning
is,
a lot from you, sir. We are learning a lot from you. We are learning.
Oh.
It's the learning process.
yeah,
Okay.
I also want to. I also just ask you, Ji. See,
Ji.
coming back to this jati, this our tradition.
He's got a lot of questions.
No, yeah, whatever.
it's good.
In our tradition, they thought about it so well because those days, the university were born due to industrial revolution. They needed to produce people who can learn quickly so that they can push them out to go into the manufacturing plant and
Correct.
things like that, start producing quickly. But then this was not available those days. Yeah? So jati was part of this process of developing. You know, like you said, you know, it's like a university at home. Yeah, where the father, you know, passes because that's how
Completely.
things were. Yeah,
Completely.
so
Absolutely right.
So what do we call a university now? Huh?
So
What
what
a
we used
question.
what we
Jati
used to have,
university.
yeah, what we used to have was a Guru Shishya Parampara.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, and in that, the mother was the first guru who taught you how to look after your body, right? How to feed it, how to clothe it, and everything else. The father then took over and looked at your aptitude and taught you how to survive in the outside world. The guru used to then receive a child at the age of 11 in a gurukul, and he would then look at the aptitude and say, what's the varna of this child? So this child should be studying Shastra. This child, let's teach him weaponry and warfare. This child, let's teach him how to farm. This child, let's put him into commerce. And they could all be 4 kids in the same family, right? And so we had a way in which knowledge was passed according to aptitude, but what we also had was kul. And kul is the tradition, the lineage, which had a particular branch of knowledge. And so the person who is born into that kul, who is the right aptitude and the right mentality, he would receive the knowledge from that kul. And so the lineage is the storehouse of generations of knowledge, all built up, refined, perfected. You know, what started off as a really rough technique in generation 1, by the time it's generation 15, you have such a skilled stone worker, he can create a temple out of a mountain. Yeah. So, Varna, Jati, Kul, and Parampara.
Perfect. I am now very clear. But what I am not clear is still how do we deconstruct this?
Yes. So from
This
his,
is-
from our Satish's point, from your experience, I mean, being a great person yourself, a British Hindu, who have been doing a lot of sevaks throughout, and how would you? What kind of attempts can we do, or what have you been doing so? I mean, till now, to get this, create this awareness. It's not caste, varna, and all these things to the next generation, so that I mean, the reason why caste overtook the varna was because we didn't do our homework properly. I think, yeah, is that correct? Yeah. So
There is truth.
see.
There is truth in that. There is
Yeah.
truth in
So
that.
tell us or guide us, how are we, what can we do for the next generation, and what have you been doing? So
Yep.
maybe we can take from there. Yeah. What's next?
So the first thing is that when there's a problem inside of a family, outsiders look to take advantage of it. Okay?
Again, sounds familiar.
Yes.
Again, sounds
you know the
You're pressing
story.
the right button, Ji.
Absolutely. So the first thing that you have to do is get rid of outsiders. And then you can sit the family down and have a conversation And so getting rid of outsiders means that whenever I'm in a conversation with, let's say, a missionary, and they want to talk to me about caste, I say, no, 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 I want to talk to you about white supremacy. I want to talk to you about the atrocities that happened in colonialization when people carried your holy scripture and lynched black Africans and took 12 million of them across the oceans. Let's have that conversation instead. Now, by doing that, I am pushing them out of our problems. This is step number one. If somebody wants to talk about caste and they are not a Hindu, I want to know why. Step one. Samjhena.
I know the keyword satyagraha.
Satyagraha. Oh dear, you stole my thunder. But I'm so pleased. I couldn't ask for somebody better and more charming to steal my thunder.
Yeah.
All right. So the
I know
first
that
step.
word. I know that word.
Okay, so
The
yeah,
first step is push out of the conversation people who have no right to be in that conversation. We don't need white saviors. Okay? So we push them
yeah,
out. And we do that by inviting them to have a conversation with us. Right? We do it like a Hindu would do it. We do it dharmically. We invite them
dharmic.
and we tell them about caste. And when they understand that it was created by Christians in India with a malicious intent in history, most of them will say, we didn't know this. And they will stop using it to vilify and demean us and undermine our children. So step one, we have to have the conversations with non-Hindus. Then we turn around and have the conversation with Hindus. Okay? And to have the conversation, we start at home with our children, our families. You know, we in a mandir, say we're going to have a day talking about caste, right? Come and tell us everything you know about caste. We're going to tell you about caste because we have to dissolve caste consciousness and we have to preserve Vadna, Jati, Kul, Parampara, because they are the ideal way that a society can become prosperous, but also a society can last and be prosperous for a long period of time.
So you
Is that a good answer?
Yes.
it's enlightening, great
Okay.
insight.
So I say to people,
We've
you
got
ask
more
me,
for our notes now.
Krishnaji, you were asking me what am I doing and what have I been doing here? So I talk
Yeah,
to
you
people.
please guide us, guide us.
Yeah, I talk to people and I ask them, have you been accused of being high caste and therefore automatically judged to be evil? And many of our family and our community have. And so we start the conversation. And this is a conversation which at the end of it, both people, everybody involved in it, feels stronger, feels more confident, and feels not guilty, not embarrassed, not ashamed, because you know that this was not what our ancestors were like. So we have to do this. Look for opportunities. And as I've written here, let's talk about caste. Have the conversations. It's really important.
Have the conversation. Yeah. Hold the bull by
So far around the world, the people who've been having caste conferences have not been Hindus.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. I didn't know there are
caste-
conferences on
on
caste.
caste.
Oh my goodness, there are so many.
Good
And the majority of them, yeah, they're all over the world, in the US, in Europe. And most of these caste conferences they're funded and supported by missionary outfits. And the people who are in them are very often our own ex-Hindu Indians.
convert.
That's right. Because they don't know.
Why am I not surprised at all?
They don't know. They don't know. They don't know that they are living a part of somebody else's cunning scheme. And we need to share it with them.
Nice people, they're kind people, they're soft people. They are okay with everything. You know, that kind of mentality that just want them.
And that's not how we are. That really isn't how we are,
We are
right?
powerful, we are courageous, yeah, we are knowledgeable.
Because, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So we have to put that kind of values, instill that kind of strength, and make them feel proud being a
We
proud
have to
Hindu.
restore Atma Vishwas, a degree of confidence and pride in who we were.
Right. We have
Yeah.
to take pride.
Because remember, this is what these false stories are supposed to do. If you take your mind back to when you were in a playground, okay, there was always one unhappy child who would go around telling the other children lies about somebody who's popular.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And
Yes.
would rush to the teacher and say, no, this is what he said, this is what she did, and so on. That child, when they grew up, they didn't transform. People actually emotionally and subconsciously change very little over a lifetime. We do yoga sadhana so that we can transform our deepest way of thinking and being. But if you don't do it, most people, that child develops a little bit, and so they get to 40, 50 years old, and they're still an immature, unevolved, emotional personality in the body of a grown-up.
Yes.
And so they do the same nonsense. You will see playground games being enacted by grown-ups on a global international political stage at the moment. And we have to stop that happening with our own community. Let's reach out and have the caste conversations. Now, I had a conversation with some Hindu friends in America, and they are holding talks called Dissolving Caste Consciousness, because that's what
So
we
that's
want to
the
do.
way to eradicate caste from our mind.
Correct.
Very good.
What
Excellent.
was
Excellent.
what was see what I would like to do is because I realize we have not been using social media to create effect. You know, the hashtags. I'm now on this journey to create these hashtags. If you hashtag Sanatana Dharma, there's only 60,000.
I know,
60,000. I am
I know.
shocked. On the other side, G, is 25 million.
Million.
Yeah,
I know.
60,000. You know,
Yutuji, this is,
Hinduism is about, I don't know, it is, yeah, my assistant is
number-
laughing, you know.
The number is threatening.
So I want that hashtag. I want those of you listening, those of you watching. Number one, 1 minute, I need to before 1 minute. I want you to like this page. I want you to follow this page. I want you to send this page. And remember, on social media, whatever hashtag you are creating, whatever you do, put something. We are missing from the the social media world. Our
this is
hashtag
true.
is miserable. 60,000 for Sanatana Dharma.
Not
Are you kidding me? What's wrong with us? Come on, people. Yeah, I don't want. Okay, so gee, just
Thank
now
you.
I
You
want to push that hashtag. What was it just now?
Dissolving caste consciousness.
dissolving.
Or
Caste
dissolve caste consciousness, whatever you feel.
Caste
Dissolve
con-
caste
dissolve caste. And
Okay.
we
Now
will
let
come up
me,
with more attractive taglines.
Now we start
Yeah.
first and then we evolve from the. But I always say do
Absolutely.
something to anything. Must be positive, must be relevant.
Yeah.
Despite inside the practical oriented faction, many thanks. Oh, okay, thank you. So let's all of us start this narrative. Simple thing is hashtags. So
Yes.
that the younger folks, get an idea, because I think they're so
Yep.
embarrassed to talk about Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism. Hinduism, I think the number is so I can check with Shawwa. Okay, that part of me settled. Platform is yours, not mine. Back to you.
Well,
Back to you.
we've been talking for almost an hour now.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think I've given the good ABC of what this issue is. But there is one issue which we haven't talked about, and I'm going to leave it as a tantalizing invitation for another
Okay.
conversation. And that is, how do we navigate marriages in between communities?
I wanted.
And what's
Can I
the
just-
philosophy?
Do we have time?
Yes,
Ask one
we
question.
got another 5 more minutes.
I have to ask
Okay.
permission. Can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
You
Can
can.
ask two bonus.
I can't refuse you, Krishna ji. आपने पूछा तो हाँ जी बताइए.
Thank you so much. I don't know whether if I should just include this topic of the caste. The divides of the Vaishnavites, the Saivites, does this also a problem in our dividing? Is it also another dividing factor in the Hindu religion? I mean, we are divided in so many ways. Is this one of
Okay. It's a very relevant and pertinent question. Good call. Worth grabbing the moment and saying we want to talk about this issue. Number one, in our tradition, diversity, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of sadhana is sacred.
Sacred.
Okay.
Okay.
Now the problem arises when the Shaivites say we're better than the Vaishnavites.
Mm.
All right. When the Hanuman Bhagats say we are more important than the Ram Bhagats. Can you imagine? That happens. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. When a Shiv Mandir, the pujaris and the community there are saying, oh, no, we came before Sri Krishna ji, so our mandir is higher than yours. All of that is nonsense. Okay. We celebrate diversity because we worship Atma in human form.
Yes.
And whatever Atma in human form is doing, so long as it's dharmic, it adds to the beauty of the forest. You know, a tulip is no better than a rose. Both of them have a role to play. If the whole world only had tulips, what a boring forest it would be. And so diversity is fundamental to us. That is part of dharma, we recognize it. But what is not dharmic is hierarchy, right? So one saying I'm better than the other, no, that's not dharmic at all. But what is dharmic is one group, the scholars from the Vaishnavites, engaging in a debate with the scholars from the Shaivites and saying, we think our philosophy is superior to yours, and have a courteous engagement, and it should be great fun. But we do not accept a hierarchy at all. And so diversity is built into us. So the more the merrier. We have a free market. If somebody is not very good and is starting a cult following, sooner or later, the rest of the community will start to look at it and start to say, no, dal mein kuch kala hai, jarur kuch hai. You know? And so
Okay.
questions will be asked.
On dharmic, we have 1,000 past posts. That's the joke.
Pakka.
Yeah? So we need everybody's help here to continue, because I will definitely be getting Pandit Satish Sharma ji back here. Yeah,
Because
but we need to build that momentum, build that group, and where else? Yeah, but social media
okay,
platform.
let's
Yeah.
listen to his comments. The Satish ji, excellent comments, sir. Here, excellent, sir. Deep insight with a practical orientation for actions. Many thanks, Satish ji.
Nirunji Gopi, I think Nirunji
Yeah.
Gopi is
Dissolving
from,
caste consciousness. Excellent explanation. So you are getting all this. So we have to get back here on another session.
yeah,
Jay,
Many more
definitely.
questions
I'm at your disposal.
Yeah, we are happy to have you. It's our pleasure. It's actually we are happy. We learn more today. Actually, more than what we actually planned.
Any closing
Perfect.
statement?
That you want to take this
Yes.
forward.
So I'd like to close on one thing, and that is that after Krishnji spoke with Arjuna, at the end of the discourse, Arjuna didn't go off and sit in a mountain doing jap. He didn't go into building a mandir. He didn't go and hold Gita classes.
Yes.
What he did is he went and he engaged in the battle, i.e. he acted. And the last words that Krishnaji gave to him, at the end of it, Arjun said, what do you want me to do? Tell me, God, what do you want me to do? Tell me, Mahadev. And Krishnaji said, Yatha ichasi tatha guru. He said, whatever your ichha shakti, whatever your will is telling you, go ahead and act. Now, our community has an issue that we have to now get rid of. It's part of coming out of colonialism. And that is that we understand, but we don't translate it into immediate action. Now, we have to act. It doesn't matter what we do. So long as we act, we have to change the narrative. We have to teach our children. We have to go and hold conferences. We need to do things. And I'm so delighted to see how you two, yourself, Krishnaji, and the GHF Malaysia team, you're acting, you're doing things. And it doesn't take much. All it takes is for a small number of people to become active, and everything else falls into line. So we need more and more people who are watching to engage with the issues and make it a better world for all of us. Krishnji sat in the chariot. He said, I will not raise my hands. I will not lift a weapon and fight for you. I've created you, so you can restore balance into the world. And that's what we who are the children of Dharma have to do.
Everybody here can be a small Arjuna, a little Arjuna.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to go at 5,
Oh,
but you can start by sharing. And remember, we will be here every Saturday, 9 o'clock. Yeah, my Saturdays are taken away. My Sunday mornings are taken away for Dharma. Yeah, so okay, that's what we have. We have the liberty to do that. But the rest of you can do a simple thing, that is to like, share, and invite, and make sure on Sunday, Saturday you are
Saturday
here.
night.
Saturday night.
Many more interesting topics.
Satiji has something else to say.
One last thing, to make it easy for everyone, I wrote a book, right? The man who never wanted to write a book, I put everything you need to know about caste into one small book. My ambition was to keep it less than 100 pages, but every page has Agni on it. And so please,
Okay.
if you're part of
Agni.
Amazon Kindle Unlimited, it's free. You can download it from Amazon without any charge. Otherwise,
That's
is
amazing.
there a link or something like? Is it an ebook?
yes, it's available from Amazon Kindle, I think it is.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
you
All
can get
right.
it on
We'll do
there
that.
and you can read it. And if you want to give it to children, it's a tiny price. It's a negligible price, so that everybody can share it and circulate it. It's just a little bit more than the cost of printing, and it makes it easy. The day we have one of these in every household, and the day every Hindu household gives it to one of their Christian friends, 2 years ke andar sab kuch ho jayega. Right? Within 2 years, nobody will be talking about caste in the wrong way anymore. Do something, do it.
Since you have given us the liberty, can I also take the liberty of translating that book in Tamil?
It would be my honor, and I am delighted, and thank you so much. I will uphold your request.
Thank you so much,
Sanjay
Satishji.
Mohamdi, let's preserve our Dharma. Yes. Let's preserve our Dharma by meeting here every Saturday, Malaysian time, 9 p.m. UK, it's 1 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah. So be here every Saturday. We are doing our best. Next week we are bringing Dr. Jyoti Rekha from South Africa to talk about Ayurveda. Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah. But your support matters.
Yes.
Every little contribution. Wherever you are, if you are busy, just get into Facebook, like, follow and share, and call a few people to listen and start sharing. There was 100%, 1,000% growth from last week. Yeah, thank you so much. But we want you to give us that support so that it inspires us to
Yes,
keep
and
on
so
doing.
many of them who are thinking, what is this I can do by just sharing? Yes, actually you are doing Dharma.
Teaching
Dharma.
starts at
You
home.
are-
So many
Yes.
Hindu families send their children to dance classes,
Yes.
but nothing about their religion. We need madrasa. I started my own madrasa at home.
Yes. It's
I am not a
tomorrow.
scholar. I am not a well-versed person, but I started something about 3 weeks ago. I have about 12 people attending Zoom, my my Hinduism classes,
Online.
and my family members is sitting in front. So sometimes wait for things to happen, fine, but let's see what we can do.
That's what our boss said.
Do something.
Ideas do not work if not you, if we do not work.
And that's why we started here. But like I said, end of the day, without you, we are nothing. We can be here, but without your support, there's nothing. So anything else, Satish? You are definitely coming back. I know you're going to take so much of your
Thank
knowledge.
you. No, I'd like to congratulate you on doing this and starting it and committing to it. I know what a commitment it is, but it's going to be successful because it's the need of the time.
Yes.
And anything that we record, people will be able to refer to it. So congratulations to both of you. Krishnaji, thank you for your courtesy and hospitality, and you Tuji. And I look forward to speaking to the audience and the Sangat at some time in the future. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yeah, do something.
Namaskar.
Do something. Do anything.
Do anything.
Remember on Saturday at 9 p.m.
It is Dharma
the
rising.
Dharma rising on the why of Hinduism. Want to see you every Saturday. That note, thank you so much. Stay safe. Stay